Hi, my name is Braxton Fleming. I'm founder and CEO of Stealth Bros Co., a trans-owned business.
Hello, Out Bosses. Rhodes Perry here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Out Entrepreneur, a weekly podcast where I get to interview today's most inspiring LGBTQ bosses crushing it in business. And on this week's episode, we are welcoming Braxton Fleming, who is calling us from New Jersey. So, Braxton, welcome to the show. I am super excited to be interviewing you today. Are you ready to fire up Out Bosses?
Excellent. I'm super ready. I'm super excited to get started.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so just a little bit about Braxton. So he is the founder and CEO of Stealth Bros and Company, which is a luxury supply company founded in 2017, revolutionizing medical storage approaches. The company started as a project in his childhood home to generate a fashionable way to house his hormone replacement therapy medications and create funds for his top surgery goals. Fleming had his back against the wall to make a change in his life for the better and took a risk to create his vision for transgender and non-binary communities in need. The company has tiered into many different products, including the Original DOP, Junior DOP, Sharp Shuttles, and much more. Stealth Bros and Company is an asset for LGBTQ plus communities and beyond. So, Braxton, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit more about how you're revolutionizing medical storage approaches? Like, what is this all about for audiences that might not be super familiar with what you're doing?
Okay, so basically what Stealth Bros and Co. is, it's a product that gives you the ability to move about freely without anyone judging you, and you also feeling safe while traveling or just keeping, your hormone replacement therapy on your dresser or hanging up in the bathroom at home. So pretty much a lot of people feel like it's stealth as in your stealth, but it's really just to keep what your belongings are stealth. So such as our hormone replacement, whether that be in the lesbian community, some studs like to put their hygiene products in there instead of carrying a purse. So it's like we give you the ability to carry what you need privately without screaming, hey, I'm this or I'm that. And then it gives you the ability to be who you are freely without worrying about anything else.
Right.
So that's like my main approach for creating Stealth Bros, was just to give a safe place to hold the hormone replacement therapy, because I just seen so many YouTube videos of trans guys and they had their hormones all over the place. And I'm a nurse, so I was like, no, we can't do this. We have to create something for us instead of having to go out and just buy a regular box, whatever. I wanted to create something specific that would basically be organized and benefit our week to week, and something that we can get excited about instead of just rumbling through our drawers and getting everything together. It would be right there ready for you.
I love what you're doing. As someone who uses testosterone, as a trans guy, I think that a place to properly store medicine obviously is helpful for trans communities. And I would imagine for cisgender people who are using hormone replacement therapy as well, this product has so much promise. And so just a couple of things, because we obviously are very familiar with the term stealth. Could you define that for folks that are listening who might be like, what is this word stealth? I've never heard it used in this term or in this way. Sorry.
I would use it in a manner of being discreet, and that's how I would define stealth. I would define it in a way of being just discreet and just accenting. I always like to say that we just want to accent you. We don't want to take over the stage. We just want to be with you where you are to make you feel safe at the end of the day. And that's pretty much what stealth, as far as Stealth Bros and Co., that's what we mean by stealth, not necessarily your identity as stealth.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So you were saying, this concept, the whole idea of the business was started from both like your own personal experiences and also being a nurse practitioner. So what were some of the concerns that you had, just being within trans communities where people might be sharing like, hey, I'm storing my testosterone in the freezer, or, I'm leaving it in the basement, or, like what were the concerns where you're like, okay, we need to reconsider one, education around properly storing medicine, but also where do we store it? And I mean, is that a part of the business? Do you help kind of provide that guidance that comes along with like some really cool products of this kind of, you can talk a little bit more about what the products are, but talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, so basically I would say that for your first question, as far as like teaching the community about more education as far as like proper storing, like should it be in a cool place, should it be in a warm place, that's something that I really do want to focus more in on in the future because I am a nurse and I want to be able to educate people as well as far as like proper injection and reading their lab values, from taking tea and how that can affect your mood, also just little ins and outs of proper administration and proper storage of, tea. And I actually started something called Thursday Tea Talks on my Instagram, Stealth Bros Co. And it pretty much just gives a little bit of insight here and there on different things that could pretty much help you while you're taking your tea or storing your tea.
That's so smart, right? It's kind of that the value, like you have a tremendous amount of followers, right? And so with that comes great responsibility. So you're obviously building a thriving business, you're selling a product, and then behind that product is also this kind of like value add, some free education, things that people might not be aware of, or after kind of using testosterone or hormone therapy treatment for some period of time, you get distance from some of the general best practices of storage and use. And so I think that like what you're doing is so super valuable. Since you've done those talks on Instagram, what's been most surprising from doing that? What have you learned from the folks who are following you?
I've learned that I didn't realize that so many little things that I find, I don't want to say common sense, but because I have been to nursing school, it's like something that I feel like everyone already knows. But there's a lot of very little things that people don't know, even as far as something small like your tea vial. When you withdraw your tea, and if you have a 10 ml vial and you're withdrawing from the same hole that you poke it in every time, and say your bag is laying down or your tea vial's on its side, you'll start to leak, and everyone's wondering why it's leaking. But the simple fix is just to rotate sites just as you would when giving self-injection. So, little, very small little things like that is what I've realized that people don't know that I can share with them. And I'm like, oh, wow, like I didn't realize this many people didn't know about this. That something that I just look over every single day or something that I do every single day. So that's probably been like the biggest thing. And then just trying to find the time to capitalize on those things and be able to share more insight on, just helping people as far as like little things like that.
Yeah, I think that's super valuable. And another question that I am wondering about, so I know that the central market that you're targeting are trans folks, right? And particularly trans masculine communities. And you had mentioned that also lesbian folks are using your products for hygiene products. Are there other markets that are coming to you that you know of that are surprised where it was not necessarily a part of why you got the company started, but are super supportive?
Yes, and that would be IVS Mothers. They are the best.
Yeah.
They are the best. Yeah, they really are. We've been seeing a lot more of IVS Mothers wanting to use the dial kits and support. So that has been a really big thing for me that I was like totally blown away by. And, the diabetic community as well. And even at my workplace now, my nursing workplace, I go there and people know about my business and they're like, oh, my dad could definitely use this for his diabetes. And I'm like, yeah, you could use it for whatever suits you. That's why we're Stealth, because we give you the right to be private with what you carry. It's up to you what you put in the bag. It's been really, really fun. And I really do want to explore all those markets and, build the brand as best as I can. So that's just what I'm working on every day right now.
Wow. That's, IVS Mothers, diabetic communities. It just seems like the markets are, the potential of growing is significant. A question for you on the names of the products. So, and I wasn't sure when I was reading the bio if I was saying it correctly. So the DOP kits, like why that word? Like where does that come from?
The DOP kit actually originates from a toiletry bag. And when I first started the business, we came out with a basic toiletry bag. And I was like, it has to have a different name. So I did some Google researches on a DOP kit bag. And then that's what had came up. So I said, okay, let's label it as the DOP kit because that's technically what it is. So that's where the DOP kit came from. And then the junior DOP came from, I actually designed the dimensions of the smaller bag. I actually made those designs myself, every single piece on that. I actually drew that up and put it out there, and that's my baby. So that's why I call it the Junior Dot, because it's something that I made and changed around certain things so that it could fit our vials and the Sharp Shuttle and everything. So that's my baby. So that's why it's called the Junior.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I'm so excited for the show notes for this episode because you have, just with the Instagram pictures that you have, as well as some of the video that I've seen with your products, it's really dynamic. So, I understand folks who are listening to the podcast, this is an audio format. Please go and check out those show notes because I think you're going to be really impressed with the products. And I feel like there's a broad range of kind of things that align with how you express your gender. So I remember kind of seeing more of like black bags, it felt like a little more masculine, and there were some pink bags and lots of different colors in between. Really, really beautiful. So, what's your process as you think about designing these products? Are you looking at other, as you said, like toiletry kits and what's out there? Or, when you kind of came out of the gate, did you just have a vision of like, these are the essential things and the market, like there's nothing out there right now that really can properly store hormones in the way that I would like to see?
Yeah, so basically how I got started, I just researched online regular toiletry bags like you find in Marshall's or Macy's. And I said, okay, how can I get an abundance of this? And then once I got comfortable with working with overseas suppliers, because all the product comes from overseas, I said, hey, can I change this on this bag to this? Can we change these dimensions? Can we use this material? Can we use this type of zipper? Can we add this type of logo? And once I got more comfortable with working with them, I was able to design the Junior Dot. And the Junior Dot idea actually came from one of my really good friends. He was like, I need something smaller because I travel a lot. And I said, all right, yeah, something smaller. So then I just kind of ran with that. And then I just came with the Junior Dot. And then the way that I've been running the business is pretty much like I come out with 5 different colors, like every 4 to 5 months. It's like a new line. So everything is always updated. So I always think of something better that I can add on to it that I feel like we're lacking. So in 2020, we're dropping a new line, and it's the best one yet. It's all waterproof, resistant material. Everything on it is better. We have an added pocket to keep the tea more secure. And it's just better. Everything we do, I try to come out with a different line. So it's almost like limited edition. So you miss this last line, you won't see nothing like it again because it's going to upgrade. It's going to keep changing every time we come out. That's
super smart. And it creates the urgency, right, for people who are thinking about it. It's like if you see the bag that you like or the dop that you like, it's like, do it now because you're not going to see this ever again, right? And it will only get better, right? I'm excited for the waterproof bags. I'm like, wow, I was online today. I was like, should I get this one now? And I'm really glad we're talking. So a question for you. When you started this company, so you were, this was like born out of, from the bio in your childhood home, right? So were you working for someone else at the same time as you were building this? Or, was this your opportunity, like your first kind of out of the gate, this is your job and you were tried and true, you're entrepreneur? Like, what's your origin story with kind of being an entrepreneur now?
Well, my origin story, both of my parents are entrepreneurs. So I've kind of always had, my dad used to drive me to school every day, and we would think about ways that he would always say, what can I do to get rich? What can I do to get rich? Even though I'm not rich by any means. But he said, what can you do? And he always told me that you have to come up with an idea where you fill a void, where there's a need. He said, you'll never get rich by just doing whatever. You have to need it. It has to be a part of your everyday life. It has to be a part of you. So he would tell me this every single day on the way to school. And I actually was going through a breakup with my ex-girlfriend, and I had put a lot of time into my relationship for a really long time, and I took away from myself. So when I moved back into my dad's house, I said, no, I'm not this stagnant person. I am a go-getter. I am motivated. And I said, I'm going to show you type of thing. And I just put my head down, and I actually worked in home care as a licensed practical nurse. And I had a lot of time for the computer while I was there. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I said, I've spent thousands of dollars on nonsense before. So let me spend a couple $1,000s on this credit card and see where this idea takes me. And I just put literally day and night. I worked 12-hour shifts, 8A to 8P. I would go home from 8P and I would talk to overseas suppliers from 8P to 4 a.m. because that was their daytime hours. Mm-hmm. So I still do that now. It still happens, but that's how I started. I just kept my head down and networked and talked to everybody, commented on everything, reached out to everybody. And that's pretty much how I was able to push the brand.
That's amazing. And it's 2017 is when you started this. So, I mean, the presence that you have online, I mean, it's really sweet, just in terms of the visuals and what you've done in such a short amount of time. I was really fortunate to meet you at the NGLCC conference this year in 2019 in August, and that was so cool. I mean, you just really visionary, and you are absolutely filling a void. There's not a whole lot of marketing that's happening out there right now.
Right.
At least in this area for trans folks. Right. And it's nice to see that we're central, for it's not often, in terms of products. And so it's really refreshing to see you out there doing this. And absolutely, I think you're an influencer in the space. I could see, there's so much potential in what you're doing. So you inspire me. That's, I guess that's the summary, the Cliff Notes version of what I'm trying to say here. And
that makes me so happy. Seriously, I'm sorry, but it really does. It's just all of this makes me super excited. So I'm very thankful.
Yeah. So talk to me about your experiences there as a new business owner in this space, right? Did you feel when you were at the conference, and I'm imagining, being in New Jersey, you're probably somehow connected to a local LGBT chamber of some sort. Do you feel like there's a lot of energy around what you're doing? Do you feel the community support? What does that look like for you?
I do. I feel so much support. I just have to say I love NGLCC. I'm actually in process of being certified through the Philadelphia Chamber in Pennsylvania. And I really, really love everything about NGLCC. I really cannot want to be a part of something more. I just feel like it's more like a family-oriented thing. Even when I was introduced to you, it was so organic and it was just a vibe. That's all I have to say. It was a vibe. It really was. And I'm just excited to be a part of it and try to bring what I can to the table to benefit the NGLCC as it benefits me and just move forward. That's really all I can truly say about it. It's just I'm really excited to just see what the future holds.
Hi, Outbosses. Rhodes Perry here. As you all know, part of my passion for this podcast is to empower you and fellow LGBTQ entrepreneurs to cultivate a feeling of purpose and belonging in your business, to know you can show up and be the most authentic version of yourself. Purpose, belonging, and workplace culture are concepts I take seriously in my own consulting practice. I'm dedicated to growing the belonging movement to empower leaders just like you, from the largest organizations to the smallest, to build healthier workplaces. That's why I'm thrilled to share everyday practices you can take to build more inclusive workplaces in my best-selling book, Belonging at Work. The book features some of today's leading diversity, equity, and inclusion thought leaders who share some of their wisdom, skills, and stories to give you the confidence necessary to stitch a sense of belonging into the fabric of your organization. To get your own copy of the book, visit rhodesonamazon.com. There you can find a paperback, Kindle, Audible, and hard copy version of the book. Again, that's rhodesonamazon.com. Together, let's grow the belonging movement. Yeah, it's one of those places where in a business space where you can show up and it doesn't feel, at least for me, it doesn't feel super transactional of like, hey, I'm Rhodes, here's my card, and vice versa. It's more, It's really getting to know the person standing in front of you, their story, what motivates them in doing what they do, right? Because, I mean, getting a business started, if you're not passionate about it, it's not going to go anywhere. And clearly there's so much passion in what you're doing. Yeah, I just think that's really, really great. A question for you on developing a product line. So this is, a lot of folks that I interview are kind of in similar spaces with me where it's more doing kind of professional services and turning those services into kind of like informational products. And so you are developing like a physical, real world product. So what's one thing that you think other business owners who are listening to the show ought to know about that they might not know? Just kind of if you think about your own process of, okay, I have this idea of bringing these kind of toiletry type bags to the market, and I need to find a vendor overseas. Like, what in that process should we know?
I would say it's going to be so basic, but Google is the answer to everything. Whatever you want to know, you ask Google. But honestly, if you don't ask, you won't receive. And someone told me that, they said, if you don't ask, you don't know if you can do it, because I kept feeling like some of the ideas that were coming to mind were just not obtainable, because I'm like, they can't do that. Like, that's too customized. Like, come on, I can't change all these things. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I could, because I just asked. And when you ask, and if they say no, there's so many other suppliers. Just reach out to somebody else and find somebody else. But if you don't reach out, if you don't put yourself out there, you won't be able to get it. And like, it's like cliche, because you hear a lot of like business owners say that, like, they're just like, you have to put yourself out there. But it's true. You just have to put yourself out there. And if you get a no, you just have to keep going until you get the yes.
Yeah.
And that's what separates people that, will win at the end of the day and that won't, because they'll just stop.
Yeah.
So you can't stop. You have to keep going.
That's a real lesson for all of us entrepreneurs, business owners. It's just that there's rejection. I mean, we have to, and that's what makes us resilient. And that gives us the tenacity and the grit, and just kind of returning to your why, your passion, the things that light you up, the things that make your heart sing, and remembering that. And for me, it's just kind of writing things on the wall, and it's just, if there's a no, it's like, okay, one step closer to that yes that I need to have to keep going. And you're doing that. And I mean, the fact too of just getting curious and asking the Google machine all the questions, and sometimes it's refining the question and refining until you're just asking better questions. And it's clear.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It really is. It's not easy all the time for some people, but when you do it all the time, and even before I started Stealth Bros, like a quick backstory, like 7 years prior, with my old birth name, I had opened up an account to be a member of this wholesale overseas suppliers website. Mm-hmm. Why? I have no idea. But when I decided to start Stealth Bros, after that, I ended up back on this site that I had been to 7 years prior, and I saw my account and it said I was an established member. And I'm like, how am I an established member? Like, what was I thinking? But it's because I'm always YouTubing. I'm always researching stocks, whether it be animals, Nat Geo, whatever. Like, I was always researching. So it's like, you have to have that mind to just dig.
Yeah, and you do. There is an art to asking the Google machine the questions too. You know what I mean? Like that. I have friends who are just like, how did you just do that? How did you find that? And I don't know. I can't really explain it. I think it's just over time you learn to ask those questions. And I think you're doing that. It's clear that you're capable of doing the research, and you're getting good results. And so as you continue to grow, so you're in the 2-year mark, and congratulations. I feel like every year, and like those first 5 to 10 are just kind of like, you're building it as you go, and you're moving past that 2-year mark, which is huge. So, as you continue to grow, for you, intrinsically, so not like the externals, the trappings of success, but for you, how are you measuring your own success?
Wow. That's hard, because I'm pretty hard on myself. I'll admit it. I feel like I'm doing well, but I feel like I'm not doing enough. Because I just know that what I have is so unique and so special. And it's like, I'm at that point now where I really need help. Like, I need more of a team that's educated in certain aspects. And I feel like I'm not there yet to figure out who is appropriate for those positions. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I battle myself. Like, I feel like I'm doing well. I feel like I'm moving forward, but I need to do more. It's just that I need help with doing more, and it's just, who do I choose? What do I do? So it's like a constant battle of, you're not doing enough, but you're still hitting quota every month, and we're still getting more followers and more views. So you're doing something, but what can we do to push it over the edge? What can we do to get everybody involved, not just a small portion of people involved? So that's like where I'm at in my head daily.
Yep. And being hard on yourself, like I'm in that club with you too. So I totally get what you're saying. And I think that that's one of the hard parts of being an entrepreneur, right? Is that it's up to us to define success, right? I mean, I'm sure the outside world, I mean, most of the time you have an idea, and for everyone who's employed by someone else, they listen to your idea and they're kind of like, what are you doing? But those are the great ideas because they're out there, but no one has executed on them in the way that you're doing that. So only you're going to know, like, how you're moving the needle forward. This is one thing that I try myself, and sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm not, but just, setting those goals, however you do it. I usually do like 90-day goals, right? And these are the things that I would love to see happen. And when they're achieved, rather than just kind of keep plowing through and setting new goals, it's like those little mini successes, those really matter, And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like for you, it sounds like that resonated. What are the mini successes for you? Like, how do you celebrate them when you reach a goal?
How do I celebrate them? I really honestly feel like I don't want to say that I haven't celebrated like small goals. Like I really don't do anything like special, like physically, but I do take like a moment to self and be like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
The first year we gave away $2,500 to a guy to help with his top surgery.
Nice.
Through our top surgery support fund that, I take a certain percentage of each month's sales and put it into a savings account. So at the end of the year, we give back to somebody just for everybody supporting the brand and everything like that. That's something that really makes me happy. And at those moments where I can give back to somebody or, someone's really excited about giving a giveaway or something, like those are the things that make me happy. I don't really do anything special when we hit our goals or anything like that, but I do take a moment to appreciate like where I am and, how many people are affected by the product that, I've created and, things like that. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. I love that. I have one of my questions that I prepare for most guests is, as you grow big, how do you give big, and are you giving back to LGBT communities? So you've you've answered that at least in a small way, and I think not a small way, that's huge. That's enormous. I mean, for one person trying to access, top surgery, just trying to live life, and $2,500 is nothing that is something to celebrate. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. That's so cool.
It was really cool, and it was awesome, and it was really, really good. It was really cool because it's like I was able to give back, and I had my own top surgery, and I have to touch base on my visuals because you said my visuals on the website were great, and those are from my two main photographers, Miko Beach and Ben Colognes. Those guys are the ones who put my photography and get all my visuals right for me. So I have to definitely shout them out because they've been a really big part of helping me with the brand and everything like that. So just have to give them the credit.
Yeah. Go Nico and Ben. That's it's beautiful. It's a really great site, especially for selling a product. It's this. I think visuals are everything for online shopping, right?
Absolutely.
So, question for you, just because the show is the out entrepreneur, just going into what brings you to the Rainbow family. I have two pretty specific ones. And the first is, before starting this business, nurse practitioner, doing home health care. So clearly you're working for someone else. Have you ever had an experience where it's been hard for you to authentically show up, bring your whole self to work? I know in like trans space in particular, talking about aspects of your gender history when you were younger. And if so, like, is there one particular story where it was just hard and it kind of gave you a sense of like, this isn't maybe not the place for me? And if you can reflect on one of those specific examples, how did you work around it? And the reason why I ask you this is that for a number of aspiring entrepreneurs, getting started in a business alone is kind of daunting. But then the other piece that's pretty specific to our communities is also, can we build thriving businesses centering ourselves and just being ourselves and be successful? So hopefully your response, just like any strategies to kind of work around showing up more authentically, hopefully will help those aspiring entrepreneurs.
First, I'm not a nurse practitioner. I'm a licensed practical nurse. Only because that's
Okay.
such a
Sorry about
high
that.
grade
Yes,
of
I always
nursing, and I don't want to disrespect any
yes.
nurses because
Yes.
you have to really earn that title. I haven't earned that title.
Okay.
But I'm a
Thank you for the
licensed
correction.
practical nurse.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'm a licensed practical nurse. But as far as like, I think, do you mean like transitioning in my workplace? Like, how was that? Or
Anything,
feeling?
yeah, anything that, related to your gender identity, your gender expression, sexual orientation, but anything that you felt like you're in the workplace and you have to code switch in some way. You're talking with your colleagues and everyone's around the water cooler talking about sports they played as little kids or something like that. And you find yourself having to censor because you might not be out to everyone.
Right. So in the beginning of my transition, this was something that was really difficult for me because I was, being misgendered at work. Obviously, people knew me for who I was, and there's a lot of nurses and nurses aides that I work with. So some people knew, some people didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell guys now that that's part of the process. Like, I was pissed then. I was upset. I would get really upset because I was being misgendered. I actually even switched jobs because I felt like I was just like, some people were respecting me after a certain point, and some people just couldn't get on board. And I knew they weren't doing it out of spite, but it was just like, you just get tired of hearing it, especially when you have like a full beard and they're sheeing you in front of family members and things like that. So it's just like I had to move from that job. But when moving from that job, I realized that some people from my old job worked at my new job because nurses work everywhere. And I ran into that and I said, I talked to myself for a while about it. I said, I'm running from who I am as an individual. And, there's got to be a balance here. And I just started owning it. And I just got a lot of respect from the confidence that I show when I move around, and people don't even, now it's like, I'll tell you a quick story. Just a couple of days ago, my staffing coordinator were talking about the business, and my concierge lady that works there also, she didn't know I was trans. So she, we're talking about my business, and I'm telling my staffing coordinator about the trans guys, and we're talking, and she's like, trans? She's like, wait, I'm confused. Who's trans? And I'm like, I'm trans. And then she's like, Braxton, get the hell out of here. And I'm like, no, seriously, I am. Like, this is real life. And then I had to explain it to her, and then I was like showing her pictures. But now it's like, where I'm at now, my transition, I'm just so confident within myself. So nothing bothers me. And it doesn't affect me how you take if I'm trans or not. Even if you're not happy about it, it doesn't bother me because I'm so comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
So and I really don't, the more confident I am and happy about it, and I'm trans, whatever, and keep it moving, people reciprocate that, and then they don't think it's a big deal either because I don't make it a big deal.
Yeah.
But when your body is vibrating like, oh my God, I'm trans, oh my God, people receive that, and then it reciprocates off of their language. So it's all about, for me personally, I feel like it's all about vibes and energies, and I just put out a different vibe to people, and people don't give me a hard time, I feel like, you know. So it just, and that comes with time though. I wasn't always like that. I feel like it's just part of our process, that's all.
100%. Yeah. And thank you for sharing, both the challenges, right, of starting in a workplace. And it sounded like in the previous story that you were sharing that it sounded like you transitioned on the job. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, that's a really, really difficult place to be in. And I certainly have had experiences like that where you're going along the journey yourself and you're much further ahead. You know who you are. And if you're medically transitioning, there's changes happening to your body. And, in a world where, at least in the United States, where 16% of adults know someone who's trans or work with someone who's trans, there's a lot on your shoulders where some may feel that they have to explain a lot of aspects of being trans, just justifying who you are, right? And so, like you said, over time, for many of us, we grow more comfortable in who we are, and we're able to show up. And like you said, just kind of have presence and vibrate in a different way. And it's, so it's a combination of our own journey and also having that safety and trust in a workplace. And Unfortunately, we have a long way to go for workplaces. And the
Yeah,
thing
we
that gives,
do.
yeah. And I mean, the thing that gives me hope is that there are businesses like yours and many
Mhm.
others that are led by trans folks, LGBT folks, allies that get it, and are doing the work actively. And I wouldn't say that any organization is 100% perfect, but working to get better. And I know that you're leading and you're really helping trans communities. As we said, you're making a center. I'm curious for you with this like positive vibe that you're giving out. Do you see like any experience, like any lived experience of being a part of the trans community as a superpower that allows you to stand out in business, right? So do you find that
Uh,
people, because you are unapologetic about who you are, you're finding more people attracted to working with you because they too want to, in their own ways, show up more authentically in their work?
yes, I do feel like that. I do, and I also tell people too. Like a big part of when I decided to start a business for the trans community, it was one because I've seen a lot of other high end trans, I don't know high end trans guys, but just more famous trans guys that were out there that were really showing up and providing something for us. I wanted to be like that. I said I want to do something, and I knew I couldn't do it. I couldn't work with them if I made the same T-shirts. If I made T-shirts and hoodies, I couldn't work with them because we can't work and we can't wear two hoodies at once, you know. But you can wear your hoodie, and then you can hold my bag, and then I can wear his hat, so that this way we could all work together. And that was like my main thing, like wanting to be collaborative more than like trying to show up in a community and take over or step on someone's toes who I thought was like an OG of our community. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. I love that you are talking about collaboration, right? So it's really it's almost kind of like your superpower, the product that you're developing is helping people. It's almost like I think they say like the blue ocean or whatever like in business, but it's like you're an original, right? And so there's other
Right.
originals out there, and how can you show up and support each other, recognizing that the products that you're developing are complementary. So you're not
Right.
outright trying to compete and going down the same path of t-shirts or hat products. And I think that's really
Right.
smart. And I think I see that a lot in spaces that I'm in, and this idea that rising tide lifts all boats, right? And I think
Mhm.
for LGBT businesses, trans businesses in particular, really looking out for each other and finding ways of putting forward the work that you're doing, so that other people who potentially could buy what you're making and how you're serving our community is huge. And I hope that this show in one way will help get your products more known to people that might be interested and could benefit from them, which I think is awesome. So, two more questions for you, Braxton. This question
Mhm.
is, recognizing that there are a lot of folks who tune into the show who have yet to take that first entrepreneurial step / leap. What
Mhm.
would you share with them just to get started?
Just start researching and make a plan. Write down your plan too. I find that helpful, even if it's like paper and pen, writing it down. Like I have a planner that I write down my things, and then I have a planner on my phone that I write down things. I do the same thing twice, but it's just when I make the list, I check it. I check it, and if I don't make the list, I don't do it. So I just feel like the first step is saying, okay, what do I want to do? One, two, is it a product? Is it a service? And just putting the basic pieces down in creating your idea and who can you serve with whatever you're doing. I think that's the main process, but I think having a focus is important as well rather than trying to be a master of everything because you end up as a master of none when you're trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
So I would definitely focus on one thing that the community and that it can serve a purpose. I feel like it, like I said before, it has to be a need or a void in something. You got to find the middle ground in something, and that's where you can really capitalize and move forward, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you heard the acronym FOCUS? And it's
Hmm.
finish one course until successful. So I feel like as you were saying that, I'm like, yes, totally that. And I think what
Yeah.
you're saying too, this idea of writing something down, journaling, typing, texting, however you do it, and then getting clarity. You know, I find, at least for me, like I'm a writer, and that really informs how I talk about things. And I find like getting clarity through writing and then speaking it, right? I mean, it's just, I mean, how powerful was it for you just to say for the first time, you know, hey, I'm Braxton. I'm the founder and CEO of Stealth and Company, right? I mean, like that's powerful.
I know, that's
right?
wild.
It's awesome.
I know.
That's you know?
I feel the same way. I feel that way. I get really crazy when I think about it. I'm like, this is my brand. What the hell happened? I'm so confused. Like, I really get blown away sometimes because I know that it's really good. I know it's something good.
Yes.
You know, and I know that I need to spread this across the world. I just need more people like you in my life, and we can make it happen, you know?
You're doing
I'm super thankful, super grateful.
Yes.
I'm very blessed to be talking to you right now.
Likewise.
So thankful.
Likewise. I feel like you're at the beginning of building this empire, and it's for the good, you know, and you're doing good things as you grow. I can see it. I can see where you're going, and it's awesome. So I really, really appreciate your time, and I really want listeners to check out your amazing website and the products that you're developing. So what is the one place that you would recommend folks go just to kind of drive traffic and to kind of share your product with other folks?
I would definitely say Instagram is the way to go. That's our main social media account. It all gets surfaced through Twitter and through Facebook as well. But I think the main focus is Instagram. Plus, we do a lot of giveaways on Instagram. You know, at least 2 or 3 times a month, we're giving something away. So, you know, it's best to just watch us on there, I think.
Nice. And we will have that in the show notes. I love what you're doing, Braxton, and I encourage you to keep going, because not only are you just serving our communities with amazing products, but you're out there as a possibility model. You're leading a really successful business, and it's such a new business. There's so much potential. So keep going, you know, even when it gets challenging. One person who was interviewed early on in our show, Nick Casey, who hopefully you're in touch with, is in Los Angeles, right? And designing shoes that are gender inclusive shoes. And I feel like there's a good synergy there, you know? So if you're not in touch, I'll make sure that you are. And just kind of a shout out to that episode as well is kind of it's a different kind of guest where, you know, developing products, which is different than the service kind of professional service folks that we normally have on the show. So I get excited by that because it's a world that I'm not super familiar with. So I'm like, how do you even establish relationships with folks across seas? And so both you and Nick are doing it in really cool ways. So anyway, I'll make sure y'all are connected. And for folks who haven't listened to that episode, definitely check it out. So so Braxton,
shout out to Nick.
Yeah, Nick's awesome. So all right, so Braxton, thank you so much for being on this week's episode. It was a pleasure, truly, to get to know you a little bit better and the great work that you're doing. And for our outbosses, again, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. It's always a pleasure. And again, details from today's show notes are going to be over at outentrepreneur.com. And you can also text OUTBOSS, all one word, to 444-999. And we'll connect you with the show notes that way. If you haven't subscribed to the show, please do it and share it with a friend or a loved one. And as always, please keep being your authentic selves 100% of the time.